Anyone who's watched even one video on my YouTube channel, what is your judgment of my character? Does this sound wildly improbable to you? Are you shocked that this is my secret life on the internet? Is that I try to meet other vegans? You think I'd be ashamed of this? You think I'd have something to hide with this profile? Really?
Can't believe the vegan movement has been hijacked by people who are obsessed with weight and losing weight, being skinny and all those things, diet obsessed people.
G'day guys, this is a message to Durianrider. You're nothing but an internet bully. It's just weak what he's done, the bullying, the countless bullying. I've seen posts where, you know, he's threatening people at their addresses, girls, you know, and he says, oh look, I don't know what my young crazy followers are going to do, you know, you live at this address. And what a fucking mouse. It's just disgraceful.
Cannot. What the fuck? How are people following him? How the fuck has this guy rose to fame? I don't get it.
Accusing A-bas-le-ciel of, firstly, of being a sexual predator, then being an extorter, extorting young girls for money. I like to ponder what he did in return for this money. Perhaps he told them stories about his adventures in Laos for 10 baht. You can hear about the time that I almost got eaten by a giant snake. Of course, without any evidence, without any regard for due process, innocent until proven guilty, the very cornerstone of civilization. The one thing that stops our relatively structured society from being a giant John Carpenter movie. But Durianrider doesn't need this. No, he's above that. With Durianrider, it's like, you're innocent until Durianrider thinks you're guilty. Then we will find out your address and come to your hotel room and give you a kicking. I don't even know what to say about this.
Hey guys, what's up? You may or may not be aware that there's a broader smear campaign against me right now. Not just involving Durianrider, but involving a number of his followers. And this video is not going to deal with that too narrowly, because when I make videos, I like to make content that's still going to be meaningful 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that I could look back on and watch in the future and reflect on myself, that my daughter could see one day. I have a 3-year-old daughter who lives in France and Germany with my ex-wife, naturally enough. So the struggle in these situations is to reach through the morass of meaninglessness and pull out something meaningful for us to talk about. But obviously, the actual allegations made against me would be emotionally devastating, perhaps to the average person. We could say to many people, to most people, I don't know. To me, it is hilarious. At an earlier stage of this, you may or may not have noticed, if you read very carefully the text on screen in the earlier video I put up already, showing you exactly what Durianrider said, you could have picked out the detail that at an earlier stage they were claiming that I was using a false name generally. And I found this hilarious, and I showed them my passport, although that's a completely unreasonable demand to make. When you've threatened to beat someone up, to abduct them, when you've made threats of violence against someone, and when you've really defamed them, you've really committed defamation in the strict legal sense, it's completely ridiculous for you to then say to them, oh yes, and I need a favor, could you provide me with your passport number, date of birth and other details so I can use this. But, as with many other things in that conversation, they kept making unreasonable demands, and I kept saying, great, let's do it. They said they had a criminal case against me. They wanted to arrest me, and I said, great, let's go to the police station. Okay, okay, you want to arrest me? Let's do it. You want to put me in jail? All right, I'm game. And right away, those things collapsed. In many, many ways, this has been a process of my calling the bluff of the other side. However, in their desperation to find anything to indict me with, they figured out that I have a profile on a website called Couchsurfing. I'm going to show you that profile. I'm going to show you what it says in just a second here. And I guess enough people don't know what that website is to imagine there's something sexy or scandalous about that. It's the least sexy thing in my life. But look, more broadly, more deeply, more meaningfully, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to reflect on my love life and my interactions with the fairer sex. I love the fact that these indictments against me alternate between presuming that I have a really hard time getting a girlfriend or meeting women, like as if this is something I'd have to work hard to do, and on the other hand, accusing me of having like a ton of women. Like they simultaneously are claiming both things about me. Like I've just got a gang of girlfriends, behind me. And then on the other hand, they're also insulting me by suggesting I'm like desperate or working hard to get with women. Look, I may not be attractive to you personally, whoever you are watching this video, but life is not fair. I am in the group of men who never had trouble attracting women. Ever. Not when I was a teenager, not when I was an adult, etc. What I had trouble with was finding women I could respect and have a meaningful relationship with. Not all men have this hang up. Some men, are quite willing to have romances with any woman who's interested in them. I, alas, was not like that. So, although I am not a conservative politically, it is true that I have had a very conservative sex life in many ways. And there are all kinds of funny, contradictions and contrasts that come out of that. I have a memory. I can't say it's a fond memory. I have a memory in high school. There was a girl, and she was 1 year older than me in the high school system. But at that age, that's a big difference. So, if you're 17 and she's 18, or look, I forget what the ages are. If I'm 15 and she's 16, whatever, she's a year ahead of me, that's a big difference. And this particular girl, I remember 1 year, it was the last day of school for that year, and then there's the summer vacation, you start the next year by the school calendar. And I remember one day I saw her in the schoolyard on the last day of school that year, and she was a year older than me, and she was already living completely like an adult. She lived in an apartment with her boyfriend. And so I forget what age she was. She was older than me, but her boyfriend was even older. So like her boyfriend was 22 or something. He was like an adult. He had a job. And, she didn't live with her parents. She obviously wasn't a virgin. She smoked cigarettes. She drank alcohol. And, she was already at the stage where drinking alcohol wasn't exciting. It was just the normal part of her life. She was living like an adult. And that on that day, that last day of that school year, I was still absolutely living like a child. I had never had a job. I lived with my parents on. And I remember I looked at her. She was wearing a leather jacket. I was not vegan at the time, of course. And I thought, you know what? Next year... That's an attainable goal for me. I didn't mean a girl like her. I meant her. And I did it, And even though she had the boyfriend, even though she was so much more mature and sophisticated than me. And, the funny thing is, for me, that wasn't the first woman I pursued. That was like the last. It was the first and the last. That was the last time when I really made an effort to seduce someone, to really be appealing to a member of the opposite sex. And it's a very strange, memory for me, that relationship. And I know it made a big impression on her. Because even at that age, I already was an intellectual, and she had never met anybody like me. She had never met anyone who talked about history and politics and literature and the things I talked about the way I did. And so, that was kind of exotic and exciting for her. And, again, you may not find me good looking. It doesn't matter much to me. But I've just never had a problem that way. And I bumped into her again by complete chance years later when I was in university. When I was approximately in my last year of university, let's say. So again, even though none of us are old, you feel a lot older. I mean, the difference between the middle of high school and your last year of university, you've matured a lot in so many ways. But I bumped into her by complete chance. And, when I bumped into her, I couldn't really tell for sure. It seemed like she was still sprung on me, that she still really had a crush on me or still had a connection to me. And then I remember I gave her my phone number because we talked a little bit. I said, oh, you know, we should have chats sometime. And that time I wasn't interested in her at all anymore. But then I remember she got on the phone with me and she wouldn't stop calling me. And, you know, I found out that she really was still sprung on me. And she still had that connection from that experience. You know, but I mean, for me, the real conclusion of that romance, which really was my first romance, was that I could, you know, start a relationship with women that certainly other guys my age would have considered unattainable. Sorry, I haven't even described her physically. She was very striking. She was tall and attractive. And again, unlike normal high school girls, she also knew how to dress like an adult and really lived like an adult, which made her look very different from the other women, the other girls or young women in that high school. But, you know, for me, really the final conclusion of that was that I realized I had to be with someone else who was an intellectual also in some way. So I've talked about that on the internet before, and I've made I've written articles about it. I have written about my my love life, partly because there's nothing scandalous about it, and you know I do kind of reflect philosophically on those things. And you know, in less philosophical moments, like lately when I was joking around with Vegan Cheetah, I've said, look, you know, I have to be less of a snob. I have to start having relationships with more kind of normal people. Because the way I've lived my life since that time, since I was a teenager, you know, really you narrow your life tremendously if you have an idea of what it means to be an intellectual, what it means to live a life of integrity, and then you only open your door, literally and metaphorically, to people who fit that type. It's more of a challenge. I mean, to have a relationship, you know, even a failed romantic relationship, like, you know, where you start dating someone and then give up before things get a bit. To have a relationship with someone who's different from you in those ways that are most precious to you, most important to you. So, like for me, I care about history and politics. I'm a certain type of intellectual. For me to have a relationship with someone who has none of those things in common with me is challenging. But, you know, I do think at this age, maybe I should, you know, take up that challenge. Anyway, as I say, I am not scandalized or mortified or emotionally hurt by the allegations made against me. I also know they're completely untrue. And I have not met or spoken to anyone, like including on the internet, who had any suspicion that these allegations were true. And that's partly because, you know, it's not the first time Durianrider has played this game. Even his core fans have now seen this played out again and again. And, you know, in the English language, we have a popular story called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. You may have never heard of that story. You may have grown up playing video games and have never heard the story of the boy who cried wolf. But, you know, if you have a false alarm too many times, people start to get suspicious. And also people know me because I'm open and relaxed about the reality of what my life is in this way. But look, so the current accusations now have shifted because one accusation after another has proven to be hollow and baseless. And I just replied in a kind of self-confident, open way. Oh, okay. You got criminal charges against me? Let's hear them. Let's go to the police station. I'll meet you there. No problem. You don't have to arrest me. I'll voluntarily go to the police station. Oh, no, there are no criminal charges? Okay, so what do you want to do? What's this about? You know? But just the concept of the website Couchsurfing is apparently exotic and strange enough to people that they can make this up. So look, I'll tell you about the website Couchsurfing in a second, so it's not too boring. First, let me just read you my profile here. The About Me page on Couchsurfing. You can decide if this sounds to you like a tremendously sexy and appealing image that I'm portraying. I mean, you know, hey. Takes all sorts. About Me, vegan, and then there's the Chinese characters for vegan, i.e. more strict than merely vegetarian. That's the first thing in my description of myself. What does that tell you? I am especially interested in meeting other vegans while I am in Thailand and while I am in China, etc. Does this sound like a lie to you? What do you think? Anyone who's watched even one video on my YouTube channel, what is your judgment of my character? Does this sound wildly improbable to you? Are you shocked that this is my secret life on the internet? Is that I try to meet other vegans? I have a YouTube channel, period. About 90% of it lately is talking about veganism. Obviously, I'm leading a double life here. Obviously, this profile is a complete fiction, and, there's just no resemblance to the real me, and, my great secret has been discovered by these people who are trying to denounce me. What a shame. How I participate in Couchsurfing. I use Couchsurfing to meet other people with common interests. You can't rely on chance to cross paths with people. It's very true. When I was living in countries like Cambodia, how do you meet other people who speak English? If English is your main language, Couchsurfing was, at that time, a great way to do that. I feel the website, in many ways, it's actually kind of lost its vitality. But in the past, there was a period of time when you really could use Couchsurfing to meet people with similar interests. When I lived in Cambodia, I would try to meet other hosts. And, I in many ways, I wish I discovered it sooner. But I think it's a little bit past its prime. The website now is kind of dead. Couchsurfing experience. I met a few interesting people in odd corners of the world through Couchsurfing and similar websites. Obviously, if English is your first language, this is the laziest way to meet other people who speak English, living in Asia or anywhere else. True. Interests. Animals, vegetarian, vegan, Buddhist. Boy, I guess I should delete the Buddhist. I've probably had that tag, I didn't notice, since I was a Buddhist. I'm now an ex-Buddhist. I identify as an historical nihilist. But anyway. But my nihilism comes out here. Music, movies, and books. Thucydides, then I have the Chinese name for Thucydides, and Herodotus. But no, I can't read Greek. So, among the people who are hating on me, if you want to make a scandal, why don't you take the time and energy and look into Thucydides and Herodotus? There's some really sexy stuff, in Herodotus especially. It'd be much more gratifying for you than looking into my private life and trying to defame me on the internet in the way you guys have been. One amazing thing I've done, true story. I'm in a remote village on the Lao-Burmese border, and some of the villagers are about to slaughter a pig. The men who are sharpening the knife to slit the animal's throat request that I chant in Pali, the canonical language of Buddhism, so that the pig will be reincarnated as a human being. I laugh, and I reply that they're asking the wrong question. They should be asking me to chant so that they won't be reborn as pigs. True story. Did I mention that I'm vegan? So, any of you guys, if you're just vaguely familiar with my web presence on YouTube or otherwise, none of this could be a shock or a scandal to anyone. Now, if you don't know, look, let's say Couchsurfing was a dating website. It's not. It's not a dating website. But if it was, so what? You think I'd be ashamed of this? You think I'd have something to hide with this profile? Really? Compared to... so ridiculous. But, that's my Couchsurfing profile, in case you hadn't found it, that this scandal is being manufactured out of. Now, at the moment, I do not. In the past, a few years ago, I did use a dating website, but, if I had a dating website, I wouldn't be ashamed either. So what? Yeah. Now, Couchsurfing, can just say briefly about the website, it is a website where you host people. So you invite people into your home to stay for free for the night, and, you get to know each other. Now, in principle, it's not a dating website. It's not supposed to be used for sex or romance. But, of course, in reality, people do meet and fall in love. And if you search on the internet, you can do a Google search for 5 minutes. There are stories of people who got married. Of course, like anything. Almost every website that involves people meeting each other, some people fall in love. But the purpose of the website is actually not romantic. Now, among the other things used to try to make this seem more salacious than it really is the assertion, which is not based on evidence, it's actually contradicted by the evidence, that I only use this website to meet women, which has not been true. And in fact, the proof of that is on the same profile. So these are the reviews you get. You may ask, well, with a website like Couchsurfing, how do people trust each other enough to invite someone into their home and, let them sleep on their couch for the night? Well, this is part of it, is that people give reviews to each other. So here are 2 reviews I have from heterosexual adult men, and neither of them are young. I think the first guy, he's a man about 50. I forget how old he is, and forget how old he is now. Hermes, and then another one from Timothy. They're both very positive reviews. Hermes says that I'm a fascinating host. I shared my advanced understanding of an area of mutual interest. Oh, gee, I didn't. So this is very flattering. He says that I'm a well of deep knowledge, but I'm happy to talk about personal and mundane subjects as well. So, boy, sorry, you guys can read this yourselves. This is actually a, extremely flattering review. Oh, and I didn't realize you had to click to read more. So all right. That one's longer. Anyway, sorry, I took this screenshot without realizing that. But anyway, this is an effusively positive review about what a wonderful guy I am to have a conversation with. Again, perhaps not shocking if you watch this YouTube channel. It's not to everyone's taste, my YouTube channel, but some people, including adult heterosexual men, are very happy to meet me, and I do. Hermes, by the way, he's actually vegetarian, but not vegan. And then there's another one from Timothy here. I'm still in touch with him, that guy Hermes. I mean, we still have email contact and so on. But yeah, that's why people use Couchsurfing, to try to build community, try to build meaningful relationships of some kind. Timothy says, I enjoyed 2 very nice days in Taitung with Zell. I'm easily suspicious if people seem too nice or accommodating. Such was the case with Zell, but after leaving his home and hospitality after 2 days, I already miss him. Wow. So anyway, you can read the rest of that. Again, this is actually public. I mean, these people are making up rumors about me as if there's something sexy about my Couchsurfing profile, if there isn't. I mean, for one heterosexual man to say that to another actually is a very rare compliment, where he says that he misses me after not seeing me for 2 days. Again, I'd forgotten. I didn't realize these were such positive reviews. But they say I'm a wonderful host. They say staying over at my house for a couple nights is a wonderful experience. There you go. I didn't think I'd be bragging about that on YouTube today, but these accusations against me have brought this out of me. So, funny stuff. Look, these people, they're looking to create a scandal out of nothing. And like I said, with the boy who cried wolf, or whatever example you want to use, they did this all before with HENYA and Jason. It was, make up any story, make up any fiction, and try to use the internet and even telephone calls. Remember, they phoned Jason's mom and try to fabricate fake things from the internet. I mean, there's no real limit to how low they'll go. The difference is, in dealing with me, they're dealing with somebody who isn't hurt by this. I'm not upset by this, and I know other people have been emotionally devastated by it. My plan for this evening was actually to make a video talking about that kind of emotional devastation, because I've been speaking with so many people here face-to-face, also by Skype, also over the internet, people who've dealt with the emotional devastation of this. And I'm at the middle of it, but I'm not emotionally devastated. To me, this is a joke. And, coincidentally, it happens that I'm a person who's not fastidiously private about his sex life. And look, I mean, with Couchsurfing, so it's not a dating website or what have you, but, I mean, I remember not too long ago, there was a woman who was over 35 years old, who was vegan, and who was a single mom. So she was a vegan single mom. And, I wasn't in love with her or anything, but she wrote me some messages within the same website within Couchsurfing. And I wrote back to her saying, yeah, I'd be interested to meet you for coffee. I'd be interested there. To me, there's nothing shameful about that. Now, it didn't happen. We never met up. But, for me in principle, I only, it's a website. You only know a few things about someone. She's vegan, her age, a few interests that she, in her case also, a lot of my life has been in studying languages, and for her also studying and teaching languages is part of her life. I was like, okay, gee, this is someone I have a lot in common with. I'd like to meet up with her. Could that have been a romantic connection? Possibly. But the vast majority of times you just meet people with an open mind and an open heart. You find out who they are, but most of the time there's nothing possible. Most of the time, it's either going to be a friendship or nothing at all, because that's life. And having a mature and detached attitude towards that is part of it. But look, guys, I mean, of the two stereotypes about me currently being propounded, one, that I just have a gang of women after me all the time, and the other, that somehow I've got to work hard to meet women or get relationships started. These are two mutually incompatible interpretations of my life. And the reality of my life has been put so plainly and so honestly on the internet that no interpretation is necessary. Thank you all for your support. The comments have been overwhelmingly positive, not just on my own websites, on websites like Reddit, on discussion forums, on Facebook, and all kinds of forums where I have no control and where nobody's censoring them. 99.9% of people have been in my corner. And the truth is, this whole fiasco is really like an intelligence test for the followers of Freelee and Durianrider, because you get to find out who is dumb enough to fall for it. Because there's nothing convincing about the illusions they've been putting out. But a very, very small number of people choose to believe them anyway.
It's like he's actually apologizing. He's apologizing with sincerity, and then his backup or his additional plan is fucking show some empathy.
Talk a monkey out a banana tree. I'm a PIMP.